Good morning. What's up, Aaron Holt? You know the guy who invented the bulldozer, or who is credited with at least commercializing the bulldozer? His last name was Holt. Yeah. And when Holt had a guy come out to take some photographs of his tracked machine, the guy was looking at the negatives upside down in reverse, and he said, "Man, that kind of looks like a caterpillar." And Holt liked the name so much that the name Caterpillar stuck. Morning, Palmetto. Tim? Artorius? Yes, I know. It's 8 o'clock. Talk to the people. No, it's 9 o'clock. Talk to the people. Got it. Can you guys not see me? Badger Mama? Can you not hear me? Thank you, Shop Stuff. Appreciate y'all. Morning. It's going to be a little different vibe. Josephus, thank you. It's going to be a little different vibe than what I think a lot of people are used to in the Bear Independent channel. Andy Frisella uses the term, there are shows within the show. There's multiple different shows within the Bear Independent show. We do the brief Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We read the Bible on Friday evening, and if there's prepper content, pre-recorded, that gets posted on Sundays. And then Tuesday, Thursday, if I feel like doing a live stream, it'll usually be what we call a coffee time. I'm gonna drink coffee and hang out with y'all. We're gonna have a begin caffeination, exactly. We're gonna have a conversation, and that's what today is about. If you do have a question, I'll pull this up on my other phone so that I can see a little bit better the comments. If you have a question, put it in all caps. And we have two very basic rules for Q&A. General population here on YouTube and on Patreon. Rule number one is be cool. What's up, Arthur? We'll be in a shalom, brother. Rule number one is be cool. I'm going to be cool to you. You're going to be cool to me. You're going to be cool to each other in the chat. Good morning, Tommy. Shalom, little bro. It's very simple. Rule number two is put your questions in all caps. That'll increase the likelihood that I can see them. And if I can see them and want to answer them, I will. If I see them and don't want to answer them, I won't. And if I can't see them, I can't answer them. And if somebody with a blue wrench has answered your question, the question is being answered. Okay? Okay. I've only ever been cool. Good morning, Tato. Tactically Torah. I was thinking about you this morning, bro, because I woke up after a short sleep feeling rather worshipful, actually. And I was just blasting worship music on my phone this morning, and I was thinking about you. So, yeah, there you go. Good morning, Fluster Club. Power's out, it's going to be 87. Drink cool water, stay in the shade. What's up, Wolfric? You going to be at Mountain Fest, September 13th, 15th in North Carolina. Yeah. Are you? Oh. Dr. Trevor Wilkins is in the house. If you got a hole in your brain, he can get in there with some putty and fix it. I think that's technically what he does. Like, when life has drilled holes in your brain and it's painful, he shows up with like a spatula and a bucket full of spackle and just slaps some shit in there. Takes a little pocket knife out, carves some new grooves into your brain, and that's what he does. Watching on the tablet today, not subscribed on that yet, need to drop the like with the phone. Shalom, Bear, keep doing what you do. Bless you, Tactical Shepherd. Okay, Storm Chaser, shalom, brother, close enough. My son, 4, turns everything into a drum and really wants to learn to play. What makes a good teacher? Okay, so drumming, what makes a good teacher? I'll tell you what makes a bad teacher. I've had one drumming lesson in my entire life, and it was in the 3rd grade. And Mr. Magliano was the band teacher, and we were learning snare drum. And Mr. Magliano was a crusty old Italian guy, and he yelled at me. And he said, "You hold the sticks, kid, wrong. You're never going to be able to play. Get the fuck out of my office." Okay. And so I took that on board. that the drum teacher, who's the authority in this space, said that I'm doing it wrong, and I'll never be able to play drums because of that. And then I didn't until I was 15 years old. So, number one, don't discourage them. Number two, I saw Andy Barnes to the metronome. Yeah, that's a good place to start. Number three, especially at 4, learn at 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, learn to count to 4. Okay, drumming's very, very basic in concept. In execution, it's not. Don't fall over, phone. All right, so or left, right. As you're looking at the screen, it'll go backwards. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and very boring, but you start there. If you're gonna learn to play a drum kit, your basic rock beat is on the 1, you have the kick drum or the bass drum. And on the 3, you have the snare. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so learn to count to 4. Learn to count to 4 consistently. Then you get in the basic paradiddles. Left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. And then you get single strokes, doubles, triples, quads. Then you can get complicated. 5. Single stroke rolls. But start with counting to 4. Just start with counting to 4. And if you can get them to count to 4, what's up, Bama Buckeye? Paradiddles. Yep, if you can get them to count to 4, then you can take it from there. If Barrett only knew how difficult it was to file insurance claims with numbers and then while you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and I start typing those numbers into the claim instead. You're welcome, bro. Shalom 12C. How do you feed animals and people on Shabbat? So on Day of Prep Friday, animals get a double portion. And on Day of Prep Friday, we prep food for Sabbath. What's up, Duck? Shalom, bro. And then we eat the food that we prepared on Shabbat, or on Day of Prep on Shabbat. So that could be a big bowl of soup or chili, or prep a bunch. It's meal prep, like whatever you're into. Sometimes like I saw another question and it completely derailed my train of thought. That's not your fault, it's mine because I'm not properly caffeinated yet. But yeah, we make a bunch of food the day before and then we eat it on the day of. Sometimes it's like make sandwiches, cold cuts, things like that. Things that don't require work on the Sabbath. And maybe you're like, well, it's not work for me to cook. And that was my opinion for a long time. But there's this little passage while the Israelites are in the wilderness, they're being fed with manna, and it leads to the Day of Prep. And so you're supposed to take a double portion on Friday, so you have enough for Friday and Saturday for the Day of Prep and Shabbat. And then it says on the Day of Prep, you will seethe what you will seethe, boil, and bake what you will bake. So you're going to prepare your food on the Day of Prep so that you don't have to prepare it on Shabbat. If you're a homemaker or you got a house full of kids, cooking can all the way be work. Even in 2024, where you flip a switch, open the freezer, figure out which thing in here we're going to throw in the oven or the air fryer or whatever. Boom. It's not that hard, right? I want to get into observing Torah suggestions. Yeah, my primary suggestion is that you read the entire book from Genesis chapter 1 to Revelation chapter 22, because one of the commands of Torah, one of the pivotal commands in Torah that we see modeled by Messiah, the woman who has the blood issue, she reaches out and touches, the King James says, the hem of his garment. But that word in Aramaic is derived from the Hebrew zitziot, his tassels. She touches his tassels. And that comes from Numbers 15, verse 37, to remember and do all the commands of Yahweh your Elohim. So, how are you supposed to remember and do something that you don't know yet? Okay? And to everybody else who's wearing tassels out there, do you know the Torah? Do you have the area of familiarity with the Torah? And some of it we forget. Oh yeah, there is a command for that. Okay, cool. But you remember and do. And so basic area of familiarity, start with that, and then walk in the model of Messiah, where we can observe, why do I do what I do? Because I am a follower of the Christ, the Most High made flesh. And I can see what he did in the Gospels. We know he kept Shabbat because he was in the temple on the Sabbath, as was his custom. That's in all four Gospels. We know he ate clean because he was a man of Judah, Matthew chapter 1. We know he observed the festivals because in all four Gospels, he's constantly on his way to Jerusalem to observe the feast. And oh, by the way, so are his followers in Acts chapter 2 and forward. Tassels, fringes, same thing, Michael Clark, zitziot. And so we know he did the Sabbath. We know he ate clean. We know that he observed the Moedim, the appointed times, the feasts, as King James calls them. And we know he wore tassels because of the woman of the blood issue. What's up, modern frontiersmen? I've been seeing a bunch of your content lately. You've been making content consistently. That's good. I hope it goes well for yourself. One down. Coffee number 2. Next. Do 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 do. Ba da ba da ba da ba da ba 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 da ba. My 5-year-old cat boots are starting to fall apart. Where do I get good American pull-on cowboy work boots for everything from felling trees to car and farm work? Ben, I don't know about cowboy pull-on boots. I have one pair of those that I've had them for a long time, and I can't for the life of me remember who makes them. I think they're Justin's. My wife got them for me when I still lived in Texas. Now, they've gotten far less use more recently. Biblically, can a woman wear zitziot? Absolutely. The command is for all the children of Israel. And so I would make the argument, if your husband's wearing them, that you don't have to, because you're under his covering just like he is under the covering of Messiah. However, if you have a conviction to wear them, go for it. Justin now are not as good. I bet everything now is not as good, and I really don't have a good answer to that. I don't know. So these right here, these are not slip-on cowboy boots, and in fact, they're really hard to see. What about this one? Can you see this one? No. Best information, worst production quality. Stand by. Life on our micro farm is cringing right now. These are, oh look, an ankle rig. These are Origin brand bison leather boots, and they're very, very good. They're not very affordable, I tell you that. I don't know if Origin makes slip-ons or not. I just don't know. Bison is good. Well, Badger Mama, what about Lymph? I said she's probably cringing at the production quality of my content right now. I don't know if Origin makes slip-ons or not, bro. I don't have an answer for that. Bear, any word on Grandpa Charlie? Negative. I'm not at home today, as you may realize. But watch this. Let me find my ma and send my ma that question. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do. Do you know what unit Grandpa Charlie was in the army. ... I love you, Ma. You're awesome. Have a capital stellar day. Boom. I'll let you know. Handled in the moment. That's a thing. That's a thing. If you general rule of productivity and entrepreneurship is if it can take less than 5 minutes to do it, just do it now. Have you noticed how far to the north the sunset is now? Not just due west like it used to be. I have noticed that. There is some, I believe the technical term is precession as far as the positioning of the sun, but it does not look like it's where it's, how do the kids say? Supposed to be. It ain't where it's supposed to be, homie. And it's odd. The Lamppost Collective, Ariat. That's what my slip-ons are. They're not Justin's, they're Ariats. But primarily because they make narrower ones, pull on and lace up. What's up, Lamppost? I don't need narrow boots at all. My feet are the approximate shape and slightly larger than this Nalgene bottle, minus the taper at the top. So I'm a wide boot person. LOL, what is up with the sun? Mark R, watch Suspicious Observers. Don't you know the world is going to end and the sun is going to explode and it's going to get really angry and we're going to have a X-class flare that's going to cause another Carrington event, but because everything is electrical now, it's going to be far worse than it was in 1889. And the earth is about to flip on its axis, and when that happens, there's going to be another flood and the world's going to be destroyed, which is why you got to live in the high mountains, because if you don't live there, then you're going to die. And I like Ben Davidson a lot. He's been on this channel. I've been following his content for 7, 8, 10 years. I don't know. More coffee syndicated. But see, I didn't even get my coffee. Hold on. But I read this book and believe this book more than anybody else, more than a pastor, priest, or rabbi, or a scientist, or a YouTuber, myself included. This book is the ultimate arbiter of truth for me. And so when the Father tells us, hey, never again am I going to, right here, Genesis chapter 9. And Elohim spoke to Noah and his sons, saying, And see, I established my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living being that was with you, of the birds, the cattle, of every beast of the earth, and all that go out on the ark, every beast of the earth. And I shall establish my covenant with you, and never again is all flesh cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again is there a flood to destroy the earth. So just like I believe the Father means forever when he says forever, I also believe he means never when he says never. Tactus Squirrel. So Waterworld Apocalypse, will I grow gills? Dude, I hope so. But you have to dress exactly like Kevin Costner dressed in that movie. Barrett, thoughts on ritual slaughter with using a bullet? Make it carrion. Ritual slaughter. Define ritual slaughter. We slaughter animals in observance of the high holy days to eat, to bring an offering made by fire. Because ritual slaughter also implies that we have Levites, the Aaronic priesthood, and a minimum of tabernacle, if not a temple. So point is, I've used bullets and I've used knives. When it comes to the Pesach, what's up, Drew? When it comes to the Pesach, you must use a knife, or I say must. I was doing it wrong until I was doing it less wrong now. And what I mean by that is I used to just shoot him in the hip. But you're not supposed to break a bone of the Passover ram. Well, your skull's a bone, and when you shoot him in the head, you're breaking a bone. So that's where knives come into play. So go with the spirit on that one. But don't be killing and burning up animals to make some type of atonement. You already have atonement by the blood of Yeshua Messiah. We eat animals in celebration of the relationship we have with the Most High by the atoning blood of Messiah, in observance of the Torah, the instruction, which was the Word, because we're covered by the blood of the Word made flesh. And again, in the Gospels, all four of them, all four canonical Gospels, we can see Messiah consistently going up to Jerusalem for Pesach, unleavened bread, and Sukkot. So, what's up, encouraging community? Shalom, Yankee watchdog. How do we fight the clear takeover of our country? That's a deep, deep question. My plans in a nutshell. Don't be where most of the problems are going to be. Understand that this is very likely a communist revolution. And then the communists always end up in the country. Always end up in the country. So people out in the country aren't going to be without their problems as well. And so I produce enough food to feed me and mine, but not enough food to be interesting. I live in a relatively low population density area. The juice versus squeeze. Do you want to bring your armored columns, shalom buckets and Bibles, do you want to bring your armored columns over the hills and through the hollers and across the creeks and the low weight bridges, air quote bridges, a lot of which we built ourselves, across the roads? I mean, it's like fighting in the countryside in Ukraine. Can you? Yeah. Is it worth it? For what? What strategic initiative can we fulfill by driving our armored columns through eastern Oklahoma? See, eastern Oklahoma is different than every other area of Oklahoma. We have big trees. We don't have mountains, but we have very tall hills. We have lots of water. Like, it's so much of a blessing that it's a problem if you don't know how to literally navigate it. And there is at least one guy who's pissed off at the government with a rifle behind every hill. So how do I deal with the fall of the American Empire? By not being that interesting, by being able to take care of me and mine, but not overproduce resources that make me interesting to a communist government, which is what we have. And then as far as taking back this country, I take issue with that. Taking back this country. The country is already ours. The system, and people say the system is broken. No, the system works perfectly for them. It doesn't work for us, and that's the point. It's not about us, it's about them. All right, let's let that shit burn to the ground. And whatever we get put into next, whatever system is erected next, we have to be A, alive, and B, able to exert enough influence that we can help direct what that system that comes next looks like. Bridges, we have a 6-ton limit. Bridges with farm equipment, heavy equipment, and grain haulers going over 1 year round. Oh, yeah, well, it's just a matter of time before that ends up in the holler. Fully awakened, shalom. Warthog, shalom. Hey T, when you roll out a new product, how do you decide what the price point should be? That's a great question, Drew Stanek. Hold on, let me put on my CEO bear hat. Got it. So the first thing you got to know is what's called your COGS, which is your cost of goods. How much stuff, ballistic nylon and buckles and Velcro and, okay. We're gonna make this bag. All right, how much material, how much webbing, how many buckles, how many zippers, how many zipper pulls, how many snaps, how many, all the things. 511 Rush 24, I think. Bought this when I didn't have the money to buy American made, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you, it's been a great bag. I have kicked this bag's ass consistently for years, and she just takes it. And while I'm not a fan of overseas manufacture when compared to American manufacture, there are some brands that do a pretty good job at it. So I need to know my COGS, okay? Cost of goods, that's number one. Then I need to know my labor metric, and that's usually determined by, if we're talking sewn goods, usually determined by how many hours do I have Why worry about just 3 days? A 3-day bag? I don't use it for 3 days. I use it's a day pack that it's got all the stuff I'm going to need for the day in it. So I need to know my labor metric. That's usually determined in number of hours by a average hourly rate. Okay. So if you got, some people make 10 bucks, some people make 15 bucks, some people make 20 bucks, we're going to average out at 15 bucks an hour. So these are all bits of information that you need to know in your business as far as costs are concerned. So now I've got labor and I've got materials, COGS, cost of goods. Now there's a thing called OPEX that most people don't think about. And OPEX, or operational expenses, is like my building lease or my mortgage if you don't own your building outright, my utilities, power, water, sewer, trash pickup, insurance, product liability, general liability, public liability, blah, 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 vehicles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, shipping costs. All this is OPEX. There's 2 ways to handle OPEX. One is to have enough margin in your product, your markup, that the margin covers OPEX. The other is to take the OPEX, say I can make 1,000 of these bags in a month. We'll use 100, round numbers. My OPEX per month is 5,000, hypothetical number, and I can make 1,000 of these bags in a month. That's going to make my OPEX per bag $5. Okay, and also in OPEX you have what's called S&A, which is salary and administrative costs. The managerial team, the leadership team that's on salary rather than hourly. Akirata skirata, shalom. The salary and administrative costs. This is going to be your attorneys, your financial professionals, CPA, tax preparers, whatever, bookkeeping, P&Ls and cash flow statements and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so all that's OPEX. So I need to know my COGS, cost of goods. I need to know my labor cost, and I need to know my OPEX. And let's say, again, using round numbers, that's 50 bucks. 50 bucks on a bag. How do you start an LLC and start writing shit off with it? I just recorded that video for Patreon for the 12th C, and it will be out within the next week. So for $10, you can join Patreon and get access to that video and the other 5,000 videos that are there in the backlog. Highly recommended. So now I know my cost. So, and then there's 3 metrics that we need to be aware of when we're pricing things: cost, price, and value. Okay, so cost is what it cost me to make it 50 bucks. Price is what I'm gonna charge you. We'll get to that in a minute. And then value. Value is determined by the end user, not by me. Okay, and when value exceeds price, people will transact. What's the value of a bear fac? How much is your life worth? Would you like to shuffle off this mortal coil prematurely? If the answer to that is yes, spend $30 on a Temu individual first aid kit with an air quote tourniquet in it, because you're gonna die, homie. You're gonna die. A bear fac doesn't guarantee that you're going to live, but it gets you the highest likelihood of success in very bad situations. So if you spend 270 bucks on a bear fac, that's less than a stitch at the ER. Okay, that's less than 1 stitch at the ER. All right, so when value exceeds price, people will transact, which is why we've sold tens of thousands of bear facs in around 4 continents. When price exceeds value, people will not transact. And so there's 2 ways to handle that: lower your price or build in more value into your product. Are you on your way to visit me yet? Not yet, Carol, not yet, but soon. And I'll be wearing my dancing shoes, so you be ready. We're going to town. So I know my cost, 50 bucks. Now I need to set the price. And this is where you figure out your margin, right? And so realistically in the industry, it's going to be minimum from cost to price, minimum, but 2x. So 100 bucks, right, for this bag that cost me 50 bucks to produce. A lot of manufacturers, and the reason they manufacture overseas is their cost might be 30 bucks and their price might be 150 bucks. And so they get a much higher margin. And there are major companies out there in the firearms industry, billion-dollar companies, one of which is, I believe it rhymes with Blaumetto Great Strarmery. And I talked to them on the phone about getting some refuge kits onto their store. The price that they wanted to pay for our kits to have the markup that they wanted in them was egregious. L. Williams, we'll touch on that next. 75 to 80% of funds go back into business. So you set the price, and price is determined by your cost. And usually retail is going to be a minimum. Your retail price is going to be a minimum of 2x your cost, typically. And see, then that doesn't become all profit. There's gross profit and net profit. And the difference between gross profit and net profit is how much did we actually keep, which goes into L. Williams' question. The way we operate Refuge Medical is we use what's called the profit first system of accounting. And there's a book by Michael Michalowicz called Profit First. You should read it. It's a good book. It's a short book, and I can sum it up for you in a paragraph. It's very simple. OPEX, operational expenses, is going to eat whatever profit you have in the company as long as you keep putting money back into OPEX. Parkinson's law, work expands to fill the time allotted to it. That's Parkinson's law. It's also true with money. The cost of work expands to fill the budget allotted to it. So if you keep putting more and more money into the operational expenses account, you will keep spending more and more money, which means you'll see a diminishing return and your margins will shrink, and then you'll get desperate and you'll put all your shit on fire sale to get people to buy it just to get the revenue in without being entirely clear on the fact that you're gonna have to take that revenue that came in and invest in more inventory that you got at a lower margin on because you started to play the price game that you had a lower margin on to restock, and the valuation of the inventory equates directly to the gross revenue potential. So I have $100,000 in inventory and I sell it at 2x. $100,000 will always be $200,000 or less, okay? Unless I discount it, right? Oh, we're gonna do 25% off, yeah, of the price. And that discount comes out of the profit margin. It doesn't come out of your cost of goods. It doesn't come out of your labor. It doesn't come out of your operational expenses. So you're shooting yourself in the foot when you discount your shit all the time. Okay? So, don't play the price game. Play the value game. All right? It's just like Refuge. We're the Ferrari. We're the Rolls Royce of trauma medicine, intentionally. I don't compete with Temu. I don't want to compete with Temu. I don't compete with Rhino Rescue or Recon or whatever they're calling themselves these days. I don't care. That's fine. If you want to buy a bullshit kit and die, that's on you. We're the opposite of that. I want the best kit I can get with the most value as possible because life is precious and irreplaceable. Okay? So, should 75 to 80% of funds go back in business for growth? No. Profit First accounting system, Michael Michalowicz. The book is Profit First. Very basic. Instead of having one account, you're going to have 3 accounts. One of those accounts is your operational expenses account, and you need checks and debit cards for that account. That's your receivables, money coming in, and your payables, money going out. MCI, MGO. Can I use our HSA card to purchase a kit? Yes, kits and components are HSA and FSA. Books and swag are not, or patches, anything like that. So if you have any of that in your cart when you're trying to check out with your HSA and FSA, it's going to reject it. It's just kits and components are HSA and FSA eligible. But yeah, we've done that for 2 or 3 years now, and that should work just fine. So you have 3 accounts. One is operational expenses, has a checkbook and debit cards for it. The other 2, one is your tax account and the other is your profit account. And so let's use round numbers. You earn $100 in revenue, okay? So $100 comes into your OPEX account, but you had $50 in expenses, payables. That goes back out of the OPEX account. That leaves you $50. This is gross profit versus net profit. If you don't hate the government already, you're about to. So now I got $50 left over, okay? I wasn't aware Refuge had competition. That's fun, Jets, and I appreciate that. We have some people masquerading as competition, but there's nobody that's comparable to what we do. Imagine that. Set apart, sanctified, holy, a peculiar people. And so I got $50 of net profit left over. Or I'm sorry, $50 of gross profit left over. 30% of that at a minimum is taxable because that's revenue, all right? So now you need to take 30% of that $50, which is $15, and put that in your tax account, separate, whenever you square your books, which should be no less than monthly, ideally weekly, okay? So you're gonna take 30% of the gross profit, that $50, and move it into your tax account. So now I got $35 left over. And I'm gonna take 10% of that gross profit and put it in my profit account. So I've got $5 over in the profit account. You can determine whether you take it from the gross or the net. That depends on your margins. What this does, and now, so I took $20 out, 15 for the government, 5 for me, that leaves 30 left over. I put the 30 back in OPEX, back in operational expenses, because your company is a cash hungry monster that will eat all the dollars that you put inside of it. And the goal is for it to bring in more dollars from the outside than it eats on the inside. That's capitalism, that's business, okay? If you have a business that doesn't make any money, that's a hobby, and the IRS will shut it down in year 3 if you don't turn a profit because you're using it as a tax shelter. And there's reasons to use a business as a tax shelter, which is like level 401 teaching, not 101 teaching. Outside the scope of this, don't even worry about it. Unless you're doing several $1 million a year or more in revenue, you don't need to worry about how do I sequester revenue inside of a company to take a loss, and am I offsetting that with real estate? Because you should have at that point, with that much revenue, a professional financial team that advises you on these things every 90 days. So I've got $50 in my gross profit. 15 or 30% of that, $15 is going to go to taxes. 10% of that, or $5, is going to go to profit first. That leaves $30 that goes back into OPEX. What I've done here is I've sequestered the profit over here in a bank account that I don't have checks for and that I don't have a debit card for. The reason for that is I now, A, can see a profit immediately. B, if there's a problem with my pricing or my value, I can tweak that if there's not enough money in the profit first account. C, I now self-direct where the profit goes. Rather than keeping it in OPEX, where most people do bank account balance accounting, they look at the bank account and go, oh, we can afford that. And they buy a bunch of shit that they don't need. It happens in people's house with Amazon. It happens inside of companies with everything else, okay? So I get to direct the profit. Do I want to buy a sew shop? Yes. Do we have the money for a sew shop? Yes. Pay for it with the profit first account. Or I want to take an owner draw, do a disbursement, take money out of the profit first account and put it into X bank account. When you do that though, that's revenue, which means it's taxable. If you hold the income inside of your company and the company holds assets, then that's not revenue. Like that Chevy 2500, that's a Refuge truck. That ain't a Bear Independent truck. That's definitely not TJ Moore's truck. See what I mean? And so you have 3 bank accounts. You set what your profit margin is. Refuge uses 10%. So we literally operate at a 10% profit margin as compared to our competitors that operate at a 60 to 100% profit margin. Okay? And we've been told by a lot of people in the industry, you need to increase your pricing. No. especially on our training. We had a renowned instructor tell us a couple days ago, you need to 3x the price of your training. You're charging X, I'm charging 3 to 4x for something that's not even comparable. Could I put my rental property under a hot sauce LLC? 100%. You can deduct anything. If you have an LLC, you can deduct anything with the Schedule C itemized return as long as it's a legitimate business expense. And legitimate business expenses contribute to the operation of the company. That's it. Okay, another really good book to read. It'll be, the beginning of the book is level 101, and then it progresses to 201, 301, 401. Good day, Vester. Shalom, brother. That book is called Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright, and it'll help you understand how to structure your businesses as an LLC, a limited liability company, as a DBA inside of an LLC, does business as an S Corp, as a C Corp, and why that matters down the road. Maybe as a limited partnership, maybe as a trust that owns the revenue producing asset, which is the business. So the trust owns it. Good morning, Mitch Moore. Shalom, brother. Frank Puzzleman. Shalom, bro. Maybe the trust owns the revenue producing asset, but you direct the trust. So you benefit from the revenue producing asset, the business. You benefit from it, but you're not responsible to be taxed on the revenue that it produces. And that's much more advanced shit. Most people don't need to worry about that right now. You need to spend a couple $100 on an LLC, start doing business, and turn a couple $100 into $1,000, turn that into $10,000, turn that into $100,000, turn that into $1 million, turn that into multi-million-dollar business in revenue per year, and then, Thad. So we're not Trump, okay? Be careful about legitimate expenses. Look at Trump case. That had to do with election funds, not business, okay? But when you're doing $1 million or more per year, you should all the way have a CPA, a financial advisory team. When you hit 6 figures, low to mid 6 figures in per annum, per year revenue, you definitely need a CPA, certified public accountant, to prepare your taxes. You don't bring them to Jackson Hewitt. You don't bring them to H&R Block. The remainder of that conversation will be over Patreon in under a week. Spartan, my machine shop is a write-off for my LLC. A portion of my wood shop is a write-off too. I'm going to set up a trust to protect my estate. Exactly. And I think every individual should have an LLC, because, like, say you make $100,000 per year, you taxed at a 30% income rate. Okay, that's $30,000. But if your LLC makes $100,000 per year, and you take itemized Schedule C deductions, you take that 30% down to about 12%. So that's 12 grand instead of 30 grand. Where's that other 18K go? Nowhere. It stays in your bank account instead of giving it to the government. Oh, but I won't get my child deductions. Bro, when you start making revenue, the child deduction that you get is nothing compared to the tax deductions you should be strategically planning to accrue when it's time to file taxes because of the way that you do business. Your whole life should be ordered in a way that you give the government as little money legally, morally, ethically as possible. 70,000 pages of tax code, 30 pages of it is what you need to do. The other 69,970 pages is how to get around the first 30 pages. Facts. And the reason we don't have a simplified tax code has less to do with the government and has more to do with the multi-billion-dollar industry of financial planning, because they're the gatekeepers to the knowledge and we're not. Somebody asked, do I have any experience with ratcheting TQs? Here, let's go over here. Oh. Somewhere in this ruck. Which one is it? This one. What used to be the stomp bag, but what became too difficult to get repeatedly. I have one of these. I gotta be on TV later. That's the shirt I'm gonna wear. I'll be on TV talking about Caleb House and our donor matching that's going on right now. So forget the company that makes it, but this is a prototype that I got at SHOT Show. And so it unhooks like so, it will hook back together, and it's just a ratchet strap, y'all. So go ahead, I put that in there, and we get this. Boom. Now, I don't have a Doppler with me, but I can check my own pulse. Get my watts out of the way. Advantages of an LLC versus a sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is something that you can do inside of an LLC. Get an LLC first, and then how that LLC is structured, whether it's a partnership, sole proprietorship, S corp, does business as, doesn't matter. Just get an LLC. Okay. You don't need to worry about any of that shit. Your standard business is going to be a limited liability company operating as a sole proprietorship, one person doing the work. Okay. You make enough money, 7 figures or more, then you can worry about, based upon conversations with your tax advisor, your certified public accountant in your state, aware of your industry and your revenue and your debt load and your financial planning and what you want your life to look like, then you can make that decision. I have no pulse in this arm. Now, where I have seen these fail, not this particular brand, because I haven't put this one through Refuge training yet, because this particular product isn't to market, but there are several other tourniquets that are ratcheting style tourniquets, and I have seen many of them fail in training. The TX2 and TX3 tourniquets and the RMT ratcheting medical tourniquet, we've broken the shit out of them. And the modality of failure is not in their ability to tension this and get compression on the bleeding vessel, pinch the artery against the bone structure. It's in their ability to be released. And you can make the argument that that's a non-issue in a medical emergency, but it's absolutely an issue in training. And so mud, blood, guts right here, this is bad. It's hard to see on camera because this is black and the detail just isn't there. Right, but so it's literally a ratchet strap. You pull this up and it tensions it, and then there's a second little tab underneath here, and you pull that up and it lets the tension off. Assuming you can pull this up and that this little spring in here, come on. Tell me your product's in R&D without telling me your product's in R&D, which is good. It's good. The industry needs more tourniquets. Good tourniquets. This thing here, there's a little spring in here. I don't know if you can see that. This little coil spring right here and right here. This is a great place for mud, dirt, debris, snow, ice to get stuck in here and make this thing not work when you need it. And that's the issue that we have seen in the past, is the ability to release. Now, Alien Gear makes the tack strap, which is essentially one of these on a leg holster. And we've been beating the piss out of that thing since we got it a few months ago. And we've had a lot of conversation with them back and forth on the phone and Zoom calls about discovery. What have we seen? And the tack strap ratcheting TQ, I believe we have it in the store, Refuge Medical. It works, and it works well. But they admit, it's not to be used as your primary tourniquet. It's to be used in a pinch. If you're in a gunfight and you get hit in the legs, you can go ahead and throw your ratcheting tourniquet on your legs and stay in the fight. During the care under fire phase, tourniquets only, right? And then when we move into tactical field care, we go from a hot zone to a warm zone. Now we can put windlass tourniquets on if we need to. And that's their purpose behind the tack strap, alien gear tack strap, versus these other tourniquets, ratcheting style, are designed to be primary use tourniquet. Why am I no longer getting any notifications, even though all my notifications are on? Because YouTube hates our guts. That's why. I don't know, Texas Sheep Lady. Not my department. Bear, I saw the goat on your left arm. I also have demonic tattoos, but I recently gave my life to Jesus. How do you live with God and have devil pictures on your arm that will make God angry? Zach G, the guy that got those tattoos, yours, mine, everybody else's, that guy's dead. Okay? You were made new by the blood of Messiah. Praise the Most High. Don't get any more tattoos. Don't worship the tattoos that you have. Don't use them, your tattoos, as an excuse to evangelize about heathen bullshit. Rather, what I do, so first of all, I forget that I have them. They're just part of my flesh suit, okay? But when people do come up to me and they go, hey man, I love your tats, man. You know, what do they mean? Where'd you get them? Now I get to share my testimony with them. Hey man, I used to be the drummer in a satanic heavy metal band. And I was a coke fiend and a drunk and a man whore. And I did all kinds of terrible things to myself and everybody else. I thought I was cool, but I wasn't. I was empty and I knew it, but I was just too fragile to admit it. And now, by the grace of the Most High Elohim, He has brought me back into covenant by the blood of His Son. And now I play worship music on the drums instead of satanic heavy metal. And one of two things happens when I have that conversation with people. One, they get into the thing that is in them, or the legion, the things that are in them, cannot stand to be in the presence of the spoken name of Yahweh or Elohim or Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. They can't stand it. And so they tweak out and leave. Or two, their soul has been yearning for somebody to speak to them about the Most High. And maybe today it just happens to be me. So, and I've had a lot of people say, you should remove your tattoos. To which my flesh says, you should shut the fuck up. You don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through, who I am, what I'm capable of. And you don't know the good work that the Father has done in me. Plank speck. Pull the 2x4 out of your eye before you go looking for the toothpick in mine. And I will try and remember to do the same. But see, people want a box to be able to put other people in. They want to be able to look at you in a glance, make an assessment, put you in a box, because now they think they know you. They don't have to take the time to get to know you. And the fact of the matter is, we're all different. We've all had different life experiences. Even the people that you could categorically put in a box, they're still individuals. And God made every one of us intentionally, and He died for every one of us. Some of us know it, some of us don't. And I think it's the most petty Christian bullshit for people to give people with tattoos a hard time. I know I made mistakes. I'm aware, sir or madam. There's nobody who knows the mistakes I've made more than me. But when, and see, the thing with tattoos is they're visible. Imagine if you just walked up to somebody in an elevator and it's like, what's up, man? You been doing any whoring lately? How about idolatry? Yeah, when was the last time you had your dick in your hand? How's that going for you? Excuse me? But because my brokenness is in a place where people can see it, that somehow creates some type of social permission for you to judge me. Be careful with that, because the measure with which you judge is the measure with which you will be judged. And we all got to do a better job, me included. We've all got to do a better job of remembering the Messiah hung upon that stake for everyone. And the Father made everyone. And even though we don't see what he sees in us because of our brokenness, he sees it in us. He knew us as we were knitted together in our mother's wombs, and he knows exactly what our potential is, exactly what we're capable of. And he loves us in spite of our brokenness because we are his children. And I got to do a better job of remembering that when I look at other people that I'm not a fan of. There's a guy named Leonard this morning. They called the cops at the hotel where I'm at, and 2 constables showed up because somebody had backed into Leonard's Mini Cooper and just gently dented his license plate. I mean, 1/2 of an inch of distension. Just gently dented his license plate. That's it. That somebody was me. And I didn't know that I had done that. And I go out there because I see cops walking around by my truck. I don't have a problem with cops. I train a lot of cops. I talk to a lot of cops. Not all cops are good, but most of them are good guys, good girls. Okay? And so I go over there. I'm like, hey, good morning. How we doing? What's up? And Deborah, who's the manager here, is also in the parking lot. And everybody's starting to circle, starting to spin just a little bit. I walk up, and this guy, Leonard, is not happy. He is not happy. And he just starts in with the cops. You know, look at this guy. He's over the line and blah, blah, blah in this big old truck. And, you know, that's why I parked the way that I parked. And he's still backed into me and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, Leonard, if you were to pull, just like take your head out of your butt and look, see. My truck was as far back as it was because there's a fire lane at the front of the parking spaces. And I didn't want to be blocking the parking lane. And Leonard's spinning. And I looked at Leonard and I said, hey man, I'm sorry. I did this. This is my fault. I apologize. I accept full responsibility for it. Whatever I can do to make it right, I will. But we're not going to let this ruin our Tuesday morning. We got important shit to do today, Leonard. Far more important than a bent license plate. So, however I can make it right, here's my information. You let me know. And the cop says, yeah, man, this is like, he goes, anything below $1,000 in damage, you guys exchange information, let insurance work it out. It's like, the cop's like, it's a slightly bent license plate. It's going to be okay. And is there a part of me that wanted to march right over there and make sure at least 3 or 4 of Leonard's teeth ended up hitting the concrete before his head did? 100%. Is that part of me righteous? No. Because Leonard might be being a dick this morning. But Yah loves Leonard. Yah loves him. Died for him. So he could come home too. And for all I know, Leonard is already my brother. We just met in the worst context that we could have, that Leonard could fathom on a Tuesday morning. And so we shook hands and he went on his way. And I nodded at the cop and he nodded at me and the cop went on his way. And Jason Bradley, you're right. Leonard had something else running his day. Normal people, stable people don't react like that. And I found myself, I walked back up here and the Spirit was on me. So I was just listening to some worship music. And I found myself praying for Leonard. Not because of his license plate. I don't give a shit about his license plate. I don't care. I just, because it's worldly bullshit. But the fact that Leonard got spun up about a slightly dented license plate tells me he's got something else going on. The way he was dressed, he might have had, probably does have, a very important meeting this morning for business, to provide for his family, to do meaningful work, to make sure his employees stay fed. And I didn't want Leonard to be off of his A game. So I'm in here praying for a guy that I never met before until 10 minutes ago. And met him, not on good terms. But Leonard belongs to Yah, whether Leonard knows it or not. Just like I belong to Yah. The only difference is I know it, and some people don't. That's it. And so you see somebody with tats, even satanic tats. Dude, you don't know their backstory. You don't know this person. Get to know that person. Because Yah knows that person intimately. And the same nefesh, the same soul, the same ruach, the same breath of life that he blew into your nostrils, he blew into Leonard's nostrils. And my king saw it fit to die for him. Who am I to say that Leonard's a bad guy? Shit, I'm a bad guy. Used to be a real bad guy. There are people all the time here on this channel. You need to be nicer, Bear. I'm not a nice person. I've learned how to be a good person. And I try to be a good person. It's a struggle. It's a struggle some days. I don't want to be nice. Nice is bullshit. Nice is appeasement and capitulation and unresolved, unspoken angst and beta male bullshit. Exactly, Texas Sheep Lady. Perhaps the plate was dented just so you would pray for him. Exactly. But I don't want to be a nice guy. I want to be a good guy. And I want to be good according to the Father's definition, not mine. And now, we'll have to pray. Good morning, Father Yah. Father, thank you for being good. Thank you for becoming flesh and teaching us how to be good. Not our definition, but your definition of what good is, what good looks like. Father, thank you that the pinnacle of our trials today involve a slightly bent license plate. Father, Leonard, whatever he's going through, steward him through it. Come face to face with him today. Please inexplicably bless him, but make it obvious that it was you, so that he can't take credit for it, we can't take credit for it, that the world can't take credit for it, that it has to be you. Father, please let him experience you today, and your sovereignty and your awesomeness and your love. Father, thank you for using broken people. Thank you for coming into covenant with whores and idolaters and murderers, and those that covet. All of us lawbreakers, all of us criminals, all of us who have fallen short of your glory. Thank you for relentlessly loving us anyway. Thank you for jealously pursuing us. Father, use us for your will in any capacity that you require, whether it makes sense to us or not. Father, our entire life, our entire being is submitted to you for your will. All that I have, use it. Use it for your glory.
Father, help us to continue to make disciples and to forsake not the widow and orphan. Father, to prophesy and to witness, and to not just speak with your authority, but to live with your authority, to be the body of Christ, and to usher in the kingdom of heaven here on earth, that people might just see a glimpse of who you are. Father, let those that need healing be healed, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, Father. Father, please continue to hedge us in, that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. But Father, send us out armed amongst the enemy, that your word would go forth unto the nations. Please continue to steward us through all these various trials for the proving of our faith, that we might learn more about you and your awesomeness, that we might grow in our faith and in our capacity to serve you. Father, Yah, let your will be done, and make us strong enough to accept that will, whatever it might be. Father, Yah, thank you for loving us. Thank you for the atoning sacrifice of Messiah. You are good. We praise you. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
I appreciate y'all very much. Scheduling wise, you may not see me at your regularly scheduled times. I have some unprecedented opportunities to go speak to the world about Caleb House, and I'm gonna take it, because if you forsake the widow and the orphan, then your wives shall be widowed and your children shall be orphaned, and Yahweh your Elohim shall come upon you with a sword. And so amidst all of the chaos of personal life and business life right now, I'm required to go talk about Caleb House, because seek ye first the kingdom of Elohim, and then all these things shall be added unto you. I love y'all. Thank you for being here. And I will see you when I see you. Shalom.